Welcome back to another video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. Doing this video, I wasn't going to do a video, but I did two videos already for the day, which is uploaded on Facebook. And they have prevented me from tagging anybody on my posts. As you guys can see here, you see I've been trying to save this post that I edit, right? So I posted, it was fine. um I had to keep posting it little by little. So I first uploaded some um screenshots of a PDF file, and then I had to paste some copy text. That was fine. Save that. That was fine. Posted the link. Pasted the link. Saved it. That was fine. The minute I start to add uh tag people in my post, um, then this happens. This has been happening all day. They limit my post. So I'm guessing that the reason why they're doing that is because my pace is not going to my post is not going to show up on anybody else's page, because they have uh do what is called shadow ban, right? So I'm able to post, but I'm just not able to tag anybody in my post because of that. So let me refresh this page. I'm going to leave page, um, just so you guys can see. Okay. So I was looking at this video. Okay. This is doing a fact checking on the documentary Hebrews to Negroes, which I watched, and it is not anti Semitic. The creator of the documentary, including those involved, have done their research. They have given us the sources in terms of the information that they put out in the documentary. So I'm watching this, and you know, I've been subscribed to this channel for a while now, and the channel uh, content creator was just also fact checking, giving us the sources also. So a couple of things I'm going to talk about on here, which again is quite shocking. Okay, now I've done research, but these brothers really know how to do some research. I mean, my research is primarily based on the technology that's being created to control uh, people's mind. Now I've also done historical research in terms of religion, the origin of religion, um, history, and just uncovering the truth while dispelling the lies. Okay, because we've all been lied to, whether you're black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. We've all been lied to. Okay, by those in power, those with money, who operate in the shadows of what they call the secret government. Okay, and so it's important to get an understanding and realize how much has been hidden. And you will really, really be surprised, if not shocked. Now, not a lot of things can shock me now, because as a target individual, I've been through a lot, I've seen a lot. They're constantly trying to silence me in terms of me explaining how it is they use the technology on me, my reaction, people around me, what it is that they do, how their minds are being regressed, right? And when you look at cults and cults' behavior and the mentality in which they indoctrinate um, their members, okay, it is wanting to become more primitive, more submissive, right, to the commands of the cult leader or leaders, okay, and the willingness to do anything and to protect their cult leader, okay. So I'm watching this, okay, and you know he's quoting uh, part from the movie in which the narrator is talk about how um, this Jewish individual, a prominent Jewish man, uh, who said that most Jews don't want to admit it, but we worship Satan. And I'm like, what? I find that hard to believe, really. But this is a Jewish person and a very prominent one at that, even though he was killed in a terrorist attack along with, I think, a U.S. congressman, right? Because he was an aide to one of the U.S. congressmen or senators. Um, but this is what he said. He said, ask how a nation could be captured without their knowing it. Mr. Rosenthal attributed his victory to absolute control of the media. He boasts of Jewish control of all news. Any newspaper who refused to acquiesce to controlled news was bought to. Okay? Now you can find this document, and I have it here at the Reagan Library.gov. So this is on the government website. Okay? And again, let me just go through this because, um, we have to understand that when these Jewish, particularly the Ashkenazi Jews, always claiming about anti-Semitism, okay, even with those who they know are Semitic people, which include black people. So black people cannot be anti-Semitic. They, on the other hand, are not a Semitic people. Okay, these types of Jewish people. I'm not saying that they're not Jewish, but they are not Semitic. They are later converts of Judaism. Okay, so I want to read a couple of pages from this document. And again, this is verifiable. You guys can go to the reaganlibrary.org and find this information. Okay, as a matter of fact, if you just Google the hidden tyranny, the issue that dwarfs all other issue, you can find the link to the Reagan Library. Okay, so let's go here. Um, okay, let me. I was gonna. I'm not gonna read that. I was gonna read that, but anyway, let me read this. Just a couple pages, because like this is shocking to me. It is. It is. I am utterly shocked. Wow, not a lot of things can shock me. Experiencing how my family is being mind controlled with these technologies, how they put commands into my mind, how they try to, for example, today, a package came from me because I ordered a gravity knife, right? So it's a small knife. It's perfectly legal to carry in New York, okay? And because again, they've been using people to send me threats with knives and stuff like that. They're gonna stab me and all this stuff, right? So this is strictly for, protection. Trust me, I'm not trying to attack anybody. But if I'm walking home by myself, knowing these people, I gotta protect myself, okay? Because again, they don't want me talking about this stuff. And they have tried everything to shut me up. It's not working. Like I told them, you know, you're not going to do it. Okay. And particularly since I've been doing a lot of research, they don't like that. Particularly when the word knowledge is being used or said, or I read it, that through the remote no monitoring, they will use the police sirens. Okay. Or thinking. They don't want me to think, right? They don't want free thinkers, critical thinkers. So they will use the police siren to try to intimidate me, send me subliminal message, you know? So I just been on a rampage. And usually when they start attacking me like this, I just go on a research rampage, you know, and, you know, put the information out there. Okay? So let me continue to read. This is the most sensational manuscript of its kind. Okay, and just to show you guys this, let me read. Um, Here we go. So this is from the, which one is it? Is it this one? Okay, it might be this one, right? So this is from the, this is also, you have the Orthodox Church in America. Okay. Um, you know, you see the address and all that stuff. Here is um, a letter to the president, Ronald Reagan. Okay. And again, here is White House response. Okay. All right. Here is the Jewish. This is from the desk of Rabbi uh, Menachem Limbersky. Sky. Again, Agudat Israel of America. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Okay, now here's the document again. So let me read. In a highly confidential interview with a Jewish administrative assistant to one of the nation's ranking senators, he was assistant to a senator. Okay, he said, "It is a marvel that the American people do not rise up and drive every Jew out of this country." The Jew, Mr. Harold Wallace Rosenthal, made this statement after admitting Jewish dominance in all significant national programs. Let me thought I'd increase the size of this. Okay, it might be two. Here you go. Okay. Um, he said, "We Jews continue to be amazed with the ease by which Christian Americans have fallen into our hands, while the naive Americans wait for Khrushchev to bury them. We have taught them to submit to our every demand. Ask how a nation could be captured without their knowing it." Mr. Rosenthal attributed this victory to absolute control of the media. He boasts of Jewish control of all news. Any newspaper which refused to accuracy to control news was brought to its knees by withdrawing advertising. Failing in this, the Jews stopped the supply of newsprint and ink. It's a very simple matter, he stated. Asked about men in high political office, Mr. Rosenthal said that no one in the last 3 decades has achieved any political power without Jewish approval. Americans have not had a presidential choice since 1932. Roosevelt was our man. Every president since has been our man. When the U.S. foreign policy was mentioned, the bedroom confidence of the interview was all but set aside. With disdain and mockery, he sneered at the American stupidity, saying, "It is Zionist communist policy from beginning to end. Yet the citizens think this Jewish policy will benefit America." He cited the 10th and Angola as example of Jewish diplomacy. The credulous nature of Americans drew only contempt from him. The interview continued at an almost omniscient plane. We Jews have put issue upon issue to the American people. Then we promote both sides of the issue by confusion reigns. With their eyes fixed on the issue, they fail to see who is behind every scene. We Jews toy with the American public as a cat toys with a mouse. The blood of the masses will flow as we wait for our day of world victory, Mr. Rosenthal added coldly. Looking back at the time of this interview and having had time to analyze Harold Rosenthal's candidness, we are compelled to think of him as a conceited, boastful, yet knowledgeable person. I would classify him as an egotist and an egoist. At times, his cruelty surfaced with a venom, especially as he described the stupid Christians, or goys as he often referred to us. His mind was thoroughly immense in the one world plan of world Jewry. With ignorance, he boasts that the Jews' conquest of the world was almost complete, thanks to Christianity stupidity. When asked if he was a Zionist, Mr. R replied, "That's a hell of a question. At the foundation of the issue is the traditional Zionist concept of Aliyah, a Jewish term meaning the ingathering or return of diaspora, dispersed Jews to the Palestine homeland. Ever since 1948 and the creation of the State of Israel, Aliyah has become a basis imperative of Israeli government. What is Aliyah? Will you please spell it for me?" Wherein he did, and I acquire as to the realistic meaning of Aliyah, Mr. R said. It is a permanent physical migration to Palestine, not just a visit. I asked, "What is Zionism?" Mr. R replied, "Our first leader, former Prime Minister David Ben Gurion, said the Zionists without a return to Zion is phony. Not many American Jews migrate permanently to Israel. Some say that all Jews, by definition, are Zionists. Others say that a Jew is not a Zionist unless he's a member who pays dues to an actively Zionist organization. Definitions have been tossed everywhere since the Jewish homeland became a reality. Millions of tax exempt American dollars are sent to Israel yearly, and we true Americans do not like this," Mr. R replied. The native politician in, well, let me just say that. Let me read that over again. So millions of tax exempt American dollars are sent to Israel yearly, and we Americans do not like this. Mr. R replied, the naive politicians in Washington are gullible. Most of them are not too bright. So the powerful Jewish lobbyists influenced this practice years ago, and there is no one strong enough to stop it. Some of that money is eventually returned to the United States and spent on Zionist propaganda effort, much of it through the B'nai B'rith and the Conference of Jewish Organizations and the World Jewish Congress. The Jewish Agency is a funding arm, a sort of body of B'nai supposed to be birth or birth officials, there was nothing wrong with sending American dollars to Israel tax free, so long as we are smart enough to get away with it. Let's reverse this conversation for a minute. You made it clear and quite uh, vociferously that you don't like Jews. Why do you hate us? Mr. Rosenthal, I do not hate anybody. I said I hate the Jews. I said I hate what the Jews are doing to us, and especially as it relates to any and everything related to Christianity. I hate their deceit, trickery, cunning, and their detestable dishonesty. Does that make me anti Semitic? If it does, then I am anti Semitic. Anti Semitism does not signify position to Semitism. There is no such thing. It is an expression we Jews use effectively as a mere as a smear word, used to brand as a bigot like you guys. Anyone who brings criticism against Jews, we use it against hate mongers. It is it sorry, it was made clear that I despise the Jews' corruptive influence on our Christian culture and on our properly Christ orientated American way of life, to which Mr. R said. During Christ's time, the Jews were seeking a material, an earthly kingdom, but Christ offered the Jews a spiritual kingdom. This they couldn't buy. So they rejected Christ and had him crucified. What do you mean, had him crucified? Doesn't history prove that the Jews crucified Christ? Yes, I guess they did. I don't beat around the bush. About 2,000 years ago, your people would have done the same thing to a man who mistreated them as Christ did the Jews. You speak of Jesus Christ as merely a man. That's all he was, a man who walked on the earth like any other man, and this myth about Christ rising from the dead and returning to earth to visit with his disciples is a bunch of crap. The Jews who drove the the Arabs out of Palestine did so to disprove Christ's mission for a spiritual kingdom. You see, instead of a leader who would make an empire for the Jews, your kind of people gave the Jews a peaceful preacher called Christ, who, instead of an eye for an eye, turned the other cheek. Rubbish. We are building, and in fact, we have built an earthly empire without your kind and your disappointing Messiah. I can see that it is you and your kind who tried to get Christ out of Christmas. I feel sorry for you. To which he quickly replied, don't give me that S. I don't want your pity. I don't need it. Too many Jews don't have the guts to tell you how we live and plan. But I am not intimidated by anyone or anything. I know where I'm going. When asked why do Jews frequently change their names, he said, Jews are the most intelligent people in the world. So if it benefits them to change their name, they do so. That's all there is to it. They mix in your society, which is plenty corrupt. So while the Jews are benefiting themselves, the dumb goy doesn't realize that these Jews with non-Jew names are Jews. I know what you are thinking about Jews in the government who use non-Jew names. Well, don't be concerned, because in the foreseeable future, there will be no presidential power in the United States. The invisible government is taking strength in that direction. To your knowledge, there are Jews in Russia really persecuted. To your knowledge, are the Jews in Russia really persecuted, or are they given any kind of freedom? To which he said, most Jews throughout the world, I would say more than 90%, know what is happening, really happening to our people. We have communication unequaled anywhere. It is only the jerks, the arrogants, and the misinformed and degenerates who can find peace in your society, and you bastards hide your sins by donning sheep's clothing. You are the hypocrites, not the Jews, as you say and write about. To answer your question, in Russia, there are two distinct governments, one visible and the other invisible. The visible is made up of different nationalities, whereas the invisible is composed of all Jews. The powerful Soviet secret police takes its order from the invisible government. There are about 6 to 7 million communists in Soviet Russia. 50% are Jews and about 50% Gentiles. But the Gentiles are not trusted. The communist Jews are united and trust each other, while the others spies on one another. About every 5 to 6 years, the secret Jewish board calls for a purge of a party, and many are liquidated. When asked why, he said, because they begin to understand too much of Jewish secret of government. Russian communists have a secret group order which consists of Jews only. They rule over everything pertaining to the invisible government. It was a powerful organization that was responsible for the secret removal of the center of communism to Tel Aviv from where all instructions excuse me now originated. Now let me pause here. Reading this, you know, I have to question some things as to whether this is really a, a legitimate document and how it ended up in the Reagan Library.gov. Or also, maybe it's there for um, not per se true for reason, but because, again, sometimes these sort of documents end up in government archives, but it doesn't mean that they're true. Okay, so whether this is true or not, I don't know. I'm not going to uh, speculate on that because the further I read into this, uh, there seem to be very well crafted words here. Okay, like secret government, those sort of things. Um, but I'm going to continue to read on, because it is fascinating. And, again, some of this thing was quoted in the documentary, but again, he does give the sources. Okay. So, and this individual was actually a prominent Jewish person, right? Which is true. Okay. You can Google that. So at least we know that's true. He's true. So, I am going to keep an open mind on this document. Okay. But I'm going to read it because it is fascinating and it's kind of shocking to me if it is true. Okay. So, does our government and the United States have knowledge of this? He replied. The United States is nothing but a trapdoor to a red world immense concentration camp. We pretty much control the UN. Okay? Again, this kind of seems like out of a James Bond movie, okay? Seriously. But again, art imitates life. Okay? So I'm going to leave it at that. When asked why the communists destroy the middle class or educated and their entire family when they invade a country, Mr. R replied, it is an established rule to destroy all members of pre existing government, their families and their relatives, but never Jews. They destroy all members of the police, state police, army officers, and their family, but never Jews. You see, we know when a government begins to search for a communist within its border, they are really attempting to uncover Jews in their areas. We're not fooled. The invisible ruler in the communist countries have a world control over the propaganda and the government of free country. We control every media of expression, including newspapers, magazines, radio, and television. Now, I would say this is partly true. Even your music. We censored the songs released for publication long before they reach the publishers. Before long, we will have complete control over your thinking. The way you boast, if this is true, it is frightening to think about our future and that of Christianity. To which Mr. Reed said, there will be a forced class warfare here in the United States, and many will be liquidated. You will unquestionably be among them. The Jews will not be harmed. I'm not boasting. I'm giving you the facts, and it is too late for your Christian followers to follow up a defense. That time is long past. Long, long ago, we had to become the aggressor. It is undoubtedly one of our great purpose in life. We are the aggressor because we stole your pretended religious belief from our Talmud. Because you stole your pretended religious belief from our Talmud. Now, again, I'm further reading this and I'm thinking to myself, okay, is this a plant, to stroke up anger against the Ashkenazi Jews, the European Jews? It could be. Okay? It could very well be. Not to say that they have not done things that are deplorable and things that have been done to them that are unexcusable, because I always say it always amazes me that for a group of people who was almost exterminated by the Nazis in Germany, that they would turn around and be some of the most bigoted group of people on this planet. Okay? So again, you know, you always got to have critical thinking and a critical thought, because these sort of things is meant to, like I said, if this is not true, is meant to create hostility and anger towards a certain group of people. Okay? But I'm going to read on because again, it is fascinating. Like I said, it is like something out of a movie, right? So here we go. So after reminding him that we thought he was intelligent, but now realize that he doesn't know what he was talking about, he replied, Judaism is the unequal culture with nothing anyway in the world to compare with it. I beg to differ. The Medu Neter, which they stole most of their stories from, also the Babylonian and Sumerian belief system, particularly the Epic of Gilgamesh, which talks about the flood. Okay, uh, there's a lot of parallelism between the Epic of Gilgamesh and Noah's flood, all right, and Noah's Ark. Okay, this is why it's important to study and understand things. And though I can't really sit down and read a book for too long, I am able to read piece by piece here and there. And because I've been doing this for so many years, and plus been reading the Bible since I was a child, I, you know, remember and understand a lot of things. Okay. So, the culture and intellectual influence of Judaism is felt throughout the entire world. Yes, throughout civilization. Asked whether he thought we faced a problem eventually with the blacks because of their startling population increase, he said that the blacks are helping to serve our supposed to be purpose, our posse, which might mean several things. We discussed the black invasion of city, county, and state jobs and their prominence now in television. where is black people prominent in television? Even at the time this was supposed to, take place. This where blacks were never prominent in television. So again, this is cause for me to, you know, say that this might not be true. Okay, this document and what is being said here, even though they're using the name of someone that did exist. Okay, so again, uh, we discuss the black invasion of city, county, and state jobs and their prominence now in television. Also, how ridiculous it is for blacks to become converted to Jews, like Sammy Davis, for instance. Mr. R replied, "That doesn't mean anything." I had to sneeze. Um, that doesn't mean anything. We know that a black cannot become a Jew and that Sammy Davis is still black. It may have been to his advantage to become converted. In reality, he still remained a nigger and not a Jew. I told him in my in depth studies of the Jews and that there were few who have done more research, they have. Wait, let me read. I'm kind of losing track of what I'm reading here. I told him in of my in-depth study of the Jews, and that there are few who have done more research on world Jewry than I, and about my unpleasant discoveries. Reminded Mr. R that there is no morality among Jews. He replied, "Money is more important than morality. We can accomplish anything with money. Our people are proven that in Israel, where its strength against attack is it it is a permanent state of war readiness. Israel can now win in any encounter. The Kabuk raised intellectual element are going to build that small country into Mid East wonderland. I will also eventually be the base for sorry, it will also be eventually be the base for world government headquarters." Okay, I'm going to end it here. Because again, I have to be concerned. Um, because again, some of the things that's being said, kind of caused me to be concerned and just to say to myself, okay, this document seems more like propaganda, even though this individual, right, Mr. R, is an actual person. Okay, so whether or not this is true, I mean, the document is there. Okay, but I don't know if it's a propaganda thing. Okay, so I'm going to put a disclaimer on this, saying that even though you can find this document in the Reagan Library .gov, that this may not be an actual um, true conversation that happened between these two individuals, and it could be propaganda to gin up anger towards a certain group of people, regardless of whether those certain groups of people do create an atmosphere in which no one can criticize them, okay, and in which they have lied, okay, about their role in the slave trade and have attacked the great Christus or Christ, Minister Louis Farrakhan, okay, regardless of what they say. Anybody that sticks up for black people that are willing to die for their people is a Christ to me. Because I understand, I know what the word Christ means. It is not a person, but it is a title given to those who have reached the pinnacle of humanity, of love for one's people, the willingness to sacrifice themselves for one's people. Those are Christ. So Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Nat Turner, Harriet Tubman, okay, are all Christ. All right. So now let's go to an actual book. Okay, I'm actually going to pause this. Okay, so here is a book, all right, from the Library of Jewish Studies. It's called Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documented history by Mark Lee Raphael. This book deals with slavery and the Jewish involvement in slavery, in which you see the European Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, have claimed that the Jews played no significant role in slavery, and they have attacked in the past the Minister Louis Farrakhan for stating that. Okay? But you see, the age of information is upon us, and they have done everything to try to take control of the internet, to try to suppress information from being put on the internet, and to prevent those of us from finding out and finding these documents, learn about the truth. Okay? Because what was once hidden is now being revealed. Okay? So, I want to go to this. Let's go here to the page. I believe, see if I remember. Okay, here we go. So the introduction. I want you guys to listen now. Okay. So again, the idea or the belief that the Jews, the European Jews, did not play a prominent role in the transatlantic slave trade is false. It's a lie. They played a major part, a significant part in the transatlantic slave trade. And they were some of the most brutal slave owners, particularly in the Caribbean. Okay? So, let's continue. By the time the East European Jews arrived in the United States, the first wave of mass immigration, mostly from Germany, had already acquired a basic middle or quasi-middle status. Of these early immigrants, a high percentage were self-employed or held service jobs. A century prior to this first migration, however, the economic strength of Atlantic Jewry was to be found not in the North American continent, but in the Caribbean, as Jacob Marcus has noted. Economically, 18th century West Indian Jewry enjoyed a centrality which North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come. There can be no question that the struggles of the West Indian Jewish community for civil and economic rights hastened the grant for further liberties and immunities to Christian dissenters and to Jews in England herself and in other British colonies. Indeed, the 23 Jews who landed in New Amsterdam in 1654 may have left within a decade. Not for another half century would New York again muster an organized Jewish community. Only in the mid 18th century did viable Jewish communities appear in Charleston, Philadelphia, Savannah, Newport. By then, the Jews of the English and Dutch islands, despite the disability they faced, outnumbered the uh, coreligionists of North America by 5 to 1. Today, perhaps the annals seem trivial, but 2 and 3 centuries ago, when England or Holland looked to its Jewish subject in America, it looked south to Florida. During the 17th century, the Dutch made vigorous efforts to develop their overseas trade, and their successes with Brazil from the mid 1620s to the mid 1650s, and the West Indies provided Dutch Jews with many mercantile opportunities at home, investments, and abroad. Colonists and traders, Jews from Holland, for example, entered the sugar plantation business in Brazil. Tax farmers, planters, mill owners, and sugar brokers, Suriname planters, and Curacao planters and merchants. For the Dutch, the result were control of one of the great sugar producing region of the world, a widening of their foreign trade. Refined in Amsterdam, the sugar was then distributed throughout Europe, and a source of great wealth for the Jews. The results were entrance into sugar production, and eventually into important position in the sugar trade as brokers and exporters. Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the Recife and Murcia congregations, 1648, included an imposta, Jewish tax of 5 soldos to each Negro slaves a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies companies. Slave auction were, were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. In Curacao, in the 17th century, as well as in the British uh, colonies of Barbados and Jamaica, in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role. Listen to this now. Okay? In Curacao in the 17th centuries, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica, in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trades. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, Martinique, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. Now, I was watching a video of these two Jewish historians. They were talking about slavery in Jamaica, and they made it seem as if, very few Jews in Jamaica owned slaves, right? And they did admit that, yes, Jews owned slaves, and I believe they had said they were also very brutal towards the slave, but also some of them were very generous, right? But they downplay the active role of the European Jews when it comes to the slave trade. Okay? But we know that that is not true. We know that the European Jews played a significant role. Why? because of their connections. Okay, because they were expert merchants in all sorts of products. Okay, so they use that connection. All right, so this was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participate in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies and there exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. Isaac da Costa of Charleston in the 1750s, David Franks of Philadelphia in the 1760s, and Aaron Lopez of Newport in the late 1760s and early 1770s dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. The importing of slaves from Africa and carrying of molasses from the West Indies and the exporting of rum from New England were by no means the totality of Jewish owned ocean commerce in colonial America. Jewish merchants exported to England, Africa, and the West Indies spermaceti oil, candles, soap, honey, cheese, butter, fish, geese, turkey, varieties of grain, products, logwood, horses, and furniture. And they imported a wide variety of consumer wares, hardware, textile, wines, teas, and spice from England. Typically, colonial Jews lived in tidewater commercial and shipping centers, New York, Philadelphia, Newport, Charleston, Savannah, and engaged in shipping, retailing, wholesaling, importing, exporting, small shopkeeping among many inland Jews, army, purveying, and wholesale trade. As a group, they played a significant role in helping to foster colonial prosperity. Okay? So again, they were major slave traffickers and slave owners. Okay? They can't deny that. They've been denying it for so long because, again, the information have been hidden. Okay? So they can no longer downplay the involvement of their ancestors into the enslavement and the trading and selling of black Africans. Okay? So just wanted to give some, clarity about certain things. And, the other document which I read, again, like I would say, I'm going to be the responsible person and say you have to take that document with a grain of salt. Okay, that you cannot um, think that that document is 100% authentic, even though it is a document. When I say authentic, meaning that that conversation truly took place. Okay, I'm going to say that. And again, this is the hidden tyranny. So even though it was quoted, um, the person who the director of the documentary, you know, this isn't his words. This is not what he's saying, but this is a document doing the research that they found, and being that it came from the um, the Reagan Library on the government website, most people would think that, hey, you know, it's legit. Okay, but like I said, just reading it and certain words are wording, um, I kind of like, hey, this may not be. Hold on now. Hold on now. Where we at? Where we at? Let me stop the music. There we go. I am just trying to find my settings. Let's do this. All right. You gotta excuse the mess behind me. A lot of boxes over the years. Would you believe I've had computer part boxes since 2011? 2011, 2012. Okay, that's how long it's been. Um, but yeah, okay. Like I said, I'm going to be the more responsible mind here. And, like I said, you got to take these things with a grain of salt, particularly the um, the document which I talk about on the website. So, but it makes for a good read. Okay. Sometimes, like I said, at some point, I'm laughing because it kind of feels like a script from out of one of those James Bond movies. You know, it definitely plays on the conspiracy, and I'm going to say conspiracy, right? And I'm not going to say conspiracy theory, but I want to say a conspiracy on the idea of the world domination of the so-called Jewish, the Ashkenazi Jews, I should say. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. Does this document lend credence? I don't know. Some parts are very convincing, other parts are not. Actually, other parts are very laughable. So I'm going to be reserved. I'm going to hold my opinion and judgment at this time because, you know, reading it kind of makes me laugh. Okay. Um, anyhow, I am going to say good night. And, just wanted to do this because, again, I was shocked. I was shocked. And usually, like I said, things don't shock me. But, you know, as I said, things don't shock me. The police siren. Woo. Wait, let me do the sound. Okay. Yeah. Anyhow, I'll talk to you guys in the next video.